I'm at IAEE's annual meeting here in Las Vegas with my good friend Francis Friedman from Time and Place Strategies.
Good morning, Joyce. How are you this morning?
Fine, Francis. We've been having a dialogue running back and forth about, I would call it a conundrum. The SEER has given us 8 consecutive quarters that there's growth. In fact, we're outpacing the GDP. We're outpacing GDP, and we're all kind of cheering about that. However, from the exhibitor perspective, they're still not sure whether they should go to a show or not. And you and I have talked earlier about where is the burden for getting to these exhibitors and sharing with them why they should be coming to a particular show. So, Francis, I want you to give me your opinions.
Well, the exhibitors also need to look for the show organizer, because the show organizer has the responsibility of delivering attendees. So exhibitors exhibit in shows to meet attendees. I mean, we throw the dance, right? The organizer throws the dance. So the question for the organizer now is, are you throwing a dance that I want to come to? It's just that simple. And I'm concerned about it at a very deep level, because what's happening in the product development cycle is that with a cutback in budgets, product development cycles are now being either non-existent or very narrowly focused. So the definition of new, I mean, you and I both know, the whole industry knows, that people come to show to see what's new. Pfizer, for example, just laid off 1,100 people in their R&D division, which is new product development. They took the cash and they bought back their stock. This is happening a great deal. Companies are buying back stock, which means they're not investing in new, which means that the show won't have new on the part of the exhibitors. So the question then, and the interesting conundrum here, going back to what you started with, is if people come to a show to see new and the exhibitors are not developing a lot of new, how does the show have new there? And my approach now in working with clients and working with the industry is the organizer has to step up and create new. Every product has a magic ingredient. So the challenge that I'm facing looking at your audience is, what's the magic ingredient in your show? You know, toothpaste, GL70 makes them whiter, right? Okay.
What is GL70?
Some toothpaste, Colgate or whatever it was years ago, had GL70 makes your smile brighter, whiter, and so on. So if the exhibitor is not bringing new to the booth, the organizer has to bring new to the experience of the show, not only in the conference program, not only in the speaker program, not only in the networking events, but on the show floor. This is show business. We're in the show business.
So what would that look like, Francis? So we could have, you know, to have something that's vibrant and new, does that mean it needs to be a separate area, a showcase of some kind?
How about a walk along? Let's look at traffic patterns. Let's go back and really get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
Do we understand the traffic flow on our show? So every 100 yards, I'm just going to make this up, but it's the way I think about it. Every 100 yards, why couldn't we have a video of pioneers in our industry playing where people could stop and go, wow, that was really interesting. A display from adjacent industries that cause things to take place in our industry. So, for example, if you were doing automotive aftermarket, somebody might be developing graphics for Skechers shoes that become seat covers in hot rods. Okay? We've got to be thinking this way. We've got to dig deeper in our industry. If I find fault in our industry, is we're not digging the wells deep enough to find the water.
Got it.
More market research, more insight into the customers. We have to listen to the customers with the inner ear. What are they saying to us? We have to understand that those customers are hurting. They're downsized. Their budgets are tight. They want to come to the show and get bang for the buck. Everybody's talking ROI. Well, there's 2 ROIs in my mind. One is called return on involvement on the part of the exhibitors, because they tend to stand off a little bit, especially in a downsized environment, and return on innovation on the part of the organizer. If you're going to throw a dance and you don't have a band, and you're not serving the right kind of stuff, and the decoration is terrible, who's going to want to dance? Well, what happens with that is that people say, well, it was a terrible experience. I'm not coming back next year. I'm not coming back next year. Our business, like all business, loses money out of the bottom of its pocket. This exhibitor drops off, that attendee drops off, this exhibitor downsizes from a 40 by 40 to a 10 by 10 rather than a 20 by 20. it slips away. We feel powerless. I think the other thing operating now is everybody's tired. They're emotionally tired. I look at it and say, what a great opportunity for leadership on our part. Can the organizer lead its industry through enthusiasm? Here's a funny word, right? Enthusiasm, energy. Our shows are about energy. Even if you have, and there's a show out there called the Paint Show, which is nothing about watching, it's paint chemistry, watching paint dry. There's an energy there for those people. They're in that industry for a certain reason. What is their energy source? And how do we do that? Yeah, it's easy if you've got a rock and roll show. A lot of overt energy. But every industry has its own energy. Every industry has its own passion as to why people are in that industry. Tap that passion. Deliver that passion.
So let's go back to the show organizer and doing research. I hear, which I think is an excuse, well, we just don't have budget for research. So how can they be innovative when it comes to, or they'll want to go and do a focus group of one, a survey sample of one, and then project that out to the world. And you and I both know that you need to have a cross-section of constituents to figure out what to do.
Sure.
So what kind of suggestions shall we be giving our colleagues, the show organizers?
There's 5 days in a week, 20 days, average 20 days in a month.
Right.
Pick up a phone and spend an hour with one customer every day.
Okay.
How hard is this? A half an hour.
Right.
Send them an email.
Right.
Dear John, or Dear Francis, Dear Barbara, Dear whoever else, can I spend 15 minutes with you? I'm sending you an email of a few issues that I want to talk about. Can I talk to you about a couple of key issues?
Yeah. It reminds me of that old commercial on United Airlines where the owner brings in all the staff and hands out tickets so everybody can go and see. So it's very similar to that, but you're saying pick up the phone and talk.
Exactly.
And not have an agenda. Ask open-ended questions.
Exactly.
And wait for them to respond and let them know that anything's on the table. Nothing's off the table.
Exactly. Better to hire a professional. A lot of the work that I do with clients are those kinds of conversations.
Right.
Because what it says is two things. One, we value you enough to hire an outside professional, and we're not going to pin this and get into a fight with you over the right answer or the wrong answer.
Right.
And with a good professional, there are many professionals in the industry, you and I included, who can have this conversation and be neutral to both sides, and also say, yeah, the client really didn't do a good job here. The organizer didn't do a good job. How can the organizer do a better job? And filter that information so that it becomes a productive conversation rather than a he said, she said, or getting angry and going back over that. It's been my experience that those conversations are very important to helping an organizer gain more insight into what they need to do to make the show work better, provide a higher value, make it more fun. Make it more fun. We are in the show business.
Okay. Thank you.